Hey, what's up, guys? I just wanted to talk today about something that I think is really important that I have a different perspective on because of my life experiences, and that's the existence of diabolical supervillains. All these super geniuses out there like Klaus Schwab and Bill Gates and George Soros and people like that are out there. Really, these super geniuses out there plotting these really devious schemes to impoverish us all, to kill us all, to enslave us all, or whatever the case may be. Um, my perspective is totally different on that. I know it's really convenient to just blame some evil supervillain for a lot of the problems that we see in the world. It's really easy to like cook up elaborate, schemes and conspiracy theories regarding these people because of all the things that they're, you know, involved with, because of their massive spheres of influence and power, because of the wealth that they have. But it's just wrong to do that. And it's, to me, we talk a lot about, how do you be a skeptical person who consumes a lot of information with an open mind? You get on that train of being a skeptical person, but how do you know, where to get off of that train before you reach crazy town? We've all missed our bus stop before, our train stop, and we got off and things were unfamiliar and there were weird people all around us, and we knew, this I must have missed my stop. This isn't it. I just see so many people that are drifting way too far beyond their train stop. And I just have a totally different perspective on it. So I'm not doing this to show you guys how awesome and cool I am. That's not the point of this at all. I'm not name dropping or anything like that. But I want to tell you about my experience that I've had in my life so far. And maybe that'll help put into perspective why I think this idea of there being diabolical supervillains is naive and childish, and that there's a much simpler, more reasonable explanation for, why things are the way that they are, and that these people who we look at as being the richest, most powerful people, that really they're just kind of acting in accordance with, what makes them wealthier, right? Which is, as I'll argue, something anybody would do in that circumstance. You're not going to see yourself on the Forbes list and be satisfied with, your positioning. Obviously, you're still going to want to compete. You're still going to want to shoot for number one. And if you're number one on the Forbes list, you're still going to work hard to maintain that position, because, people who have amassed that kind of wealth, guess what? They're super competitive. They're super competitive. Those are the most competitive people that there are. That's how they got to be that wealthy. That's how they got on the Forbes list. And and super ambitious. So you can't expect them to just ditch that quality the moment they have enough money. So anyway, that's a whole separate tangent, but let me get started. So my dad was involved in private aviation. So in 1965, he got his pilot's license and started flying around celebrities on private jets. We lived in the Nashville area growing up, so we're talking mostly musicians. So we're talking like Jerry Lee Lewis, Ray Charles, Dolly Parton. There were some other people too involved there, like Colonel Sanders, for example. Like my dad used to. So my dad, as a young man in his early 20s, he flies around some of the world's most famous people, and that's what he does for a living. Later on, he decided to start his own private airport. So he started an airport called an FBO, fixed based operation or whatever. Flight based. I should know that, but I don't. But he started an FBO where people fly into the airport and they park their private jets at the hangar and do all that kind of stuff. And so he started an actual private jet center where people fly in their private jets, and it became the second most successful, highest rated business of its type in the country. So Anyway, this is based in Nashville. Nashville has tons of celebrities coming in and out. And again, that was just more of the same, just coming across a lot of the world's most successful, hyper celebrities in the music and entertainment industry and beyond. Then, if that wasn't enough, we uprooted and moved my family to close to the Aspen area, where I went to school in Aspen. Aspen, for those of you who are unfamiliar, is really a safe haven and playground for celebrities. In fact, it's one of the few places celebrities can go without being harassed. Like, it was just an unspoken rule that when you saw celebrities out in Aspen, you don't run up to them and, oh my God, can I get your autograph? And you would drive yourself crazy if you did that, because celebrities are there just all the time. So that's another thing. I've got more to share. Interestingly, where I grew up, the street I grew up on in Tennessee, it was just a normal middle class town. It was like something straight out of, Hawkins? It's like straight out of Hawkins from Stranger Things. Just a regular old middle class America street. Exactly what you picture in your mind of that to look like in the 80s, right? And on that street, back in the 80s, everybody was super social. So everybody in the neighborhood knew each other really well. There were house parties, you get together, play cards, eat dinner, all these events, go canoeing together. And on that street, this one street that's not even a mile long, 2 U.S. senators came out of that street. So my literal neighbors, 2 out of about 20 of them, maybe 30 houses like in this area at the most, became U.S. senators. One of them is still a senator today. The other one was actually a pretty high-profile presidential candidate and was at one time polling like number 3 in the polls to get nominated by one of the big super parties. So we're talking, and this person also was a famous actor and was in a lot of movies. So, I mean, it's absolutely nuts. My parents used to go canoeing with them. We have pictures like in the house of doing stuff with these people, hanging out in your 80s jean shorts, going canoeing. And, this was just, kind of like a way of life. So another person who was a senator from that same street, I went to school with her daughter, and my dad, who was, big Casanova, on my very first day of school, he was like, make sure to tell her daughter, that she looks pretty today. So first day of school, I go in and I say, oh, you look really pretty today, awkwardly, and then I scurry over to my desk. So that was me in my first, 1 minute of first grade going to school, was telling the daughter of a future U.S. senator that she looked pretty today. So anyway, silly, side story, but that's kind of how personal it was. So like I really knew a couple of senators. A third senator, another senator from another state, flew in to my dad's funeral that happened last year and gave a speech. So, a third senator that my family's really close with. Now, continuing on with that, my dad, he started an airline, a small airline out in Aspen that flew flights mainly between Aspen and Denver. It's a very small airline. And a lot of investors were interested in that. So Don Henley was trying to become an investor. My dad actually turned Don Henley down. Sorry, Don, you're not the investor I'm looking for. My dad has had a lot of personal dealings with Kevin Costner. He's gone over to his house and done batting practice at his baseball field, and they've had some dealings together. My dad later on started a business, or was trying to do a startup airline based in Seattle, and he was partnered up with an astronaut who's at one point had logged the most hours in space of any astronaut in U.S. history. And those two we're really spending a lot of time down at Ross Perot's place, the former U.S. Presidential candidate who once led in the polls. And we're trying to solicit investment money from him. And they were making a lot of progress and almost secured that investment until Ross died. And then that fell through, and that project, never came to exist. Anyway, there's more I could tell you. I saw celebrities all the time in Aspen. A dream team player used to come and play basketball in our gym. I went to a high school with just 300 people, and every day during the off season, just like going between class, you look in and there's somebody from the USA 1996 gold medal dream team from the NBA is hanging out practicing. My football coach was the caretaker at his house, that kind of thing. So I'm running into, Goldie Hawn and Kurt Russell and Stallone and Will Smith and all these people all the time. And, we share stories all the time because, like my best buddy Justin at the time, he was a doorman at a fancy hotel, and we were like, he shut the door on Mariah Carey, like she was there, like their big entourage, and he was supposed to hold the door open for her, and he let it go right in her face, and we were like, yeah, dude, like that's awesome. So anyway, we were just constantly around celebrities. A Saudi prince was who we would go get money from when we had a school function. Other kids at other schools are doing bake sales, and we're going over to the Saudi prince that lives in town to solicit some donations from him. So that's the kind of life that I've lived and the people that I've been around. My dad's airline, the investor that ended up partnering with him on his airline. Currently, I looked him up lately. The family has a net worth of $10.9 billion, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I say all that to say that I've been around a lot of these people, and these people are normal people. They're not super geniuses. They're not diabolical. They're just people. They're just people, and the difference between a senator and a normal person is that the senator spent their lives trying to become a politician, instead of working on something else. There's nothing particularly special about that type of person. The vast majority of people in the U.S. Senate and beyond are, they're not all that special. They might be well connected, they might have some advantages, but at the end of the day, to think that they're on this completely different tier from the rest of us and that they're all part of some diabolical plot. It's just silly to think that, my neighbors on my street that I grew up with are those people. They're just not. And they're just not. I know that they're not because they're just not. I've been around these people, and it's just not like that. And I just have so many small stories and humiliating stories of things that I know that celebrities have done because, I know so many people who massage celebrities or worked at restaurants or hotels where a lot of these people went, including Trump and whoever else. I mean, everybody goes through Aspen. So anyway, that's my perspective. And I really wanted to share that I really believe that the system is the simple explanation, right? We live in a capitalist system. Capital is in money for investment, is where the power resides in our country and in most of the world. So that's the mover and shaker of all things. And the people who are super ambitious and super motivated and super fixated on accumulating wealth, those people are rewarded. And the more money they make, the easier it becomes to make money. The more money they make, the more power they gain and the more influence they have over politicians, because they can donate money to a campaign and practically decide who is going to be winning the presidential races, the governor races, the Senate races, right? So, I mean, if you had a bunch of money and you could decide who was going to win, let's say you're really into Trump. Let's say you're really into RFK Jr. Let's say you're really into DeSantis. Let's say you're really into Gavin Newsom, Michelle Obama, if she declares that she's running for president. Whomever you're into, Vivek, let's say. If you're really into them, I mean, and you had the power to do it, to make them win by donating millions of dollars, perhaps tens of millions of dollars, I mean, wouldn't you do that? And wouldn't that person owe you a lot of favors and a debt of gratitude? I mean, yeah, the public voted for them, but is it really the public that put them in office, or, was it really did they really owe their allegiance to the person who basically bought them all those votes? That's the kind of thing that you have to think about. As far as other aspects of it, like I said, I mean, in the beginning, you're always motivated to make more money. You have to do something with your money. You can park it in, you have to park it in some kind of investment. You want it to grow. People put money in investments that they expect to grow. There's at no point do you want to lose money. At no point do you want to take the tens of billions of dollars that you've amassed and turn it into tens of millions of dollars. You don't want to do that. Nobody wants anything that they've worked for and accumulated over the course of their lives to just dissipate and dissolve. And, it's not even greed. Greed is like a trigger word that when I hear it, I'm like, oh God, yeah, greedy. Yes, these people are just evil. That's why they're doing all this. This is why, you're poor and they're wealthy, is because they're greedy. They're greedy. Everybody's greedy. Everybody wants to secure more money and wealth for themselves. And I think about when I was working just at a health food store, and people were coming there to buy supplements, right? If there was a 50-cent higher commission on one product versus another, a person walks into the store, and I'm like, hey, check out this product. This product's really great. I know I told you last month that other one was really awesome, but hey, man, I tried this, and it's the shit, bro. Like, you got to get on this. I mean, every single person that worked at this place did that. If there was an extra 50, and we would do that for an extra 50-cent commission. 50 cents, guys, 50 cents was enough for us to run out and change our spiel to try to sell a different product. 50 cents. So you have to look yourself in the face and honestly say that, if you had the ability to sway a politician or a lobbyist or something like that you could lobby for something that was going to make you millions or tens of millions or hundreds of millions, and give you some kind of unfair economic advantage over the competition, of course you would take that. Of course you would do that. It's not because you're evil. It's just because the system dictates that you do that, because that's the smart thing to do. That's the right thing to do. That's the logical thing to do. I don't think that makes a person evil or villainous or any of those things. And I don't think that people who run the world, whether they're economists or central bankers or, people in the military or people in Congress, all those people, they're just not that much smarter than the rest of us. They might be a little smarter than a normal person, but they're not capable of putting together, these really well thought out, sinister plots that involve, changing the weather and, slipping small amounts of substances in there to make everybody infertile, or putting tracking devices in the water, or whatever kind of crazy conspiracy that people are throwing around. I've seen a lot crazier than that, crazy that there's they've already colonized Mars, and that there's a bunch of as always with all the conspiracies, there's a bunch of young people there that are the rich people fly to Mars to get themselves some young action. You know, I mean, just absurd nonsense. These people are not capable of that, and please don't buy in anymore to this idea that there's diabolical supervillains. These are normal people acting in accordance with what makes most logical sense and how to play this game we call capitalism. And it has a lot of negative consequences, and I'm not a fan. But don't hate the player, hate the game.